We'll call this meeting of the Silver City Town Council to order. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on the agenda with action is a proclamation for Salt of the Earth Day, March 14th, 2014. Mr. Burns and anybody else here to receive it, meet me at the podium.
Good. How are you, sir?
Whereas working families throughout Silver City, Grant County, and across the United States have been committed to economic progression by supporting fairness in the workplace and establishing guiding principles that help men and women meet the demands of both work and home. And whereas on October 17, 1950, the Empire Zinc mine workers, followed by their wives, went on strike for 15 months demanding fairness and an end to discrimination in the workplace. And whereas on January 25, 1952, the strike ended when the Empire Zinc Mine agreed to extend worthier wages and benefits to the mine workers. And whereas this year marks the 60th anniversary of the award-winning motion picture Salt of the Earth, commemorating the victorious struggle of the mine workers and one of the most repressive periods in New Mexico's political history. And whereas during this 52nd legislative session, a memorial is being presented to the New Mexico State Senate and House of Representatives to celebrate and recognize this historical moment of New Mexico's history. Now, therefore, I, James R. Marshall, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the town of Silver City, Grant County, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim March 14, 2014 as Salt of the Earth Day, and acknowledge the recognition of the mine workers and all the workers in Silver City and Grant County that have fought for their basic human rights in the workplace.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good to see you.
On behalf of Local 2516 Grant County employees, AFSCME Council 18, New Mexico, and workers throughout the country and the world, I thank you all for this proclamation, and I would invite you all to attend the festivities and the public viewing of the film on the 15th of March, Saturday. Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda is public input. I remind you have 5 minutes to speak. If you're watching me, I'll give you a 1-minute warning. And Dr. Martinez, reference to wealth gap. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, Mayor Marshall, members of the council, and all others who are present. Art Martinez, a retired university professor, political science, and so shouldn't be too surprising that I'm an activist in the community for more than 40 years. I appreciate this opportunity very much. I'm pleased that I was preceded with the mentioning of workers and the struggles and so forth. They might not ever end. We seem to have to get in and do what we can for others. The last time that I was here with you, I was primarily making the case for increasing the minimum wage for all of our folks in New Mexico from $7.50 an hour, which we have in place in this state, to at least $14 per hour. I hope people are getting motivated to move forward with that at the municipal levels, county level, state, and on up to to the others in Washington, D.C. Because of the very limited time allowed, I will express myself very quickly. My basic aim is to emphasize the following point. We Americans must no longer continue to ignore the outrageous and, in my judgment, the very sad and the very immoral gap in accumulated wealth that we have in this country. It exists in our nation. It exists among our compatriots. At this crossroads in our history, and as we had mentioned earlier, we're working on this still. And what makes this tragedy even worse is that this gap, this unbelievable gap, is increasing week by week in the United States and at all political jurisdictions in our country. Wealthier persons, therefore, are in fact getting wealthier in America, and the poor are sinking deeper into poverty and all the misery that that can mean even in our county. I'm proposing that we plan and work for developing an economy in New Mexico. Of course, that means the county and the city and all the municipalities, locally and across America, that is seriously dedicated to the well-being for the many. For the many. Not one that is very heavily tilted toward the, as I heard mentioned the other day, the plutocrats, which is to say, the few. We have got to address that soon. I believe the future, and perhaps the very survival, I'm not here to exaggerate anything, our very survival as a nation and our people, of course, are at stake. And anyone who's awake and is serious about this understands. We can't any longer accept a condition wherein 85 of the wealthiest individuals in our country have accumulated a mountain of wealth that exceeds the combined wealth of 3.5 billion of the poorest people on earth. Can you imagine? That's going to haunt everyone. And obviously, this includes over 20 million of America's, our own people, our poorest people, some of whom are our neighbors and our friends out here in Grant County and in the state.
Thank you, Dr. Martinez.
Your
time's up.
I don't have an additional minute?
No, I gave you the minute warning.
Okay.
Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias.
Next up, we'll go to council comments. Councilor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to express my gratitude to work with Mayor Marshall here for the last 3 or 4 years. It's been a very good experience. I enjoy it. I'm still enjoying it. We're going to miss your quick remarks. And he's going to join the KMA club here pretty soon. And being on this side here, I have learned a lot from my fellow peers here and from the mayor. Being out there is something different. Being back here, you see why things are done that are done. And it's not a very easy decision for any of us. We have to think for a lot of people, and it's hard. People don't want to participate with us, so it's hard to think for 10,000 people. On the brighter side of things, we are going to have a benefit breakfast for the Silco Theater, and it's going to be the Knights of Columbus, some of the veterans, myself, and the Leatherheads, which is a motorcycle group consisting of the fire department personnel. And I hope that you people go and join us. All the proceeds are gonna go to the Circle Theater. It's gonna be $5, and it's gonna be a good menu. I'm looking for some cooks if anybody's interested. From back this way. It's gonna be this Sunday. Starting 8 o'clock in the morning at the Knights of Columbus Hall. One more thing. Please vote, and vote early, and vote for the proposed tax for safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Cook?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank everybody for supporting me in the last 2 years. I hope I represented most of you the way you would want to be represented up here. Thank you, all the people that I worked with on council, and Ann and Alex and everybody, Robert, all the chiefs. But I'll give you a big speech next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Bedison?
Thank you, Mayor. Before I say thanks to the mayor and to Councilor Cook, I wanted to bring something up that I thought was sort of apropos, given the fact that we're going to talk a little bit about, and the reports, the High Desert Humane Society's annual animal intake report. One of the things I received was a request for information about how I felt about single-point tethering. I received an email regarding that. And my response was that I'm not a candidate for upcoming offices, but I would be happy to address it in a more appropriate public forum, and this to me is a very appropriate public forum, and I hope that the individual that sent it to me and those that are interested will listen to this and hopefully hear what I have to say. Our town ordinances set a standard, and the animal ordinance, like our other town ordinances, sets a standard. And Section 6.5, securing or enclosing of dogs, sets a standard by which we hope people will abide by. Within the animal ordinance are lots of other standards, such as licensing of dogs, the fact that we have a 2-animal rule, and I can tell you that many of those standards are not followed. Similarly, we have standards about, not driving under the influence, driving with a seatbelt. So we set standards and hope that people will follow them, but the only way that we can make sure that people do follow those standards is if you, as a citizen, are willing to stand up and be a witness. So I ask you, because there are ordinances, throughout the ordinance for the animal ordinance, it lists everything from the authority to confine an animal, which is forbidden, to administration and enforcement, and how our officers, the authority of our officers, of the animal control officer, of the town manager, to go in and to remove an animal that is being experiencing cruelty by an owner. There's all sorts of authorities in there, and then there are state statutes. But in order for our officers to carry any of this out, and they have to know that this is going on. So if you're witnessing an animal that their owner or someone is being cruel to, whether it's by single-point tethering, by the choking of the neck, not having access to water or food for days or hours on end, please do what I did. Stand up and say that you will be a witness in court. Stand up and call Central Dispatch. Call to have animal control come over. Call to have our officers come over and take care of the issue. There's no other way. We can't legislate behavior. It's something that we said often, and I know I have, and other members of the council have said it as well. We can't legislate behavior. All we can do is set a standard. So I implore you, to please stand up and be counted and say something. It's the only way to stop animal cruelty. It's the only way to stop violence against women, children, and men. It's the only way to stop DUI and DWI. It's the only way to stop all of those things. So please do that, and please take care of your animals for everyone that's out there. So I know that I do, and be kind to your neighbors, especially if you have animals that bark. I try to bring mine in under the noise ordinance. So I welcome anyone to come and talk to me. I welcome to have a public forum where we can discuss it further. But I think that our laws, the way they currently stand, our ordinances, and the state statutes, which have a lot more teeth in terms of cruelty, that our officers can also use, those stand and they will prevail if you will stand up and be counted and be a witness and fill out the forms and tell the officer that you will go to court. So, thank you. And I want to say how much I have enjoyed being on this council with Mayor Marshall. Certainly, I have tried to go to every offering that the Municipal League provides for leadership and information about how to be a counselor, but I can tell you that his leadership as the mayor has provided more information in some respects than all those leadership classes, and how to comport yourself, what to do. Honestly, he really has truly been a mentor and a teacher, and I can't thank him enough. And it's been a joy to sit next to Councilor Cook. It's nice to have two women on the council. I think this is going to flip in about in 2 meetings. When Councilor Ronas takes over as mayor, it'll be 3 women to 2 men, and that'll be interesting for you. And I can say that I have appreciated the mayor's wit, but not necessarily all the pigtail pulling that's been done. So, but I really have enjoyed working with both of them and all of my other fellow council members. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bedison, and I will withhold my tongue after those nice remarks. Last and certainly not least, Councilor Moronis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only thing I want to really talk about is the fact that we do have an election coming up. And I continue to hear comments about the fact that there's so many uncontested races, which is potentially could lead to a low number of turnout to go vote. But please remember, not only is District 2 being contested, but also the municipal judge is being contested. So there's a reason for all voters in all the other districts to make sure that they go and vote. Along with that is the decision whether you want, you personally as a voter want to continue our public safety tax. Very important for all the districts, so please turn out and vote and state your case there. Along with that, there's been a couple of great forums last couple of weeks where people have, if you've taken notice, will get to meet and learn from the various contestants. And I believe we have a couple more coming up. I think Tuesday at 6 in this building. There'll be another one put on by the Daily Press, I think sponsored by the town or contributing, along with another forum the following week, the following Monday. So please, everybody, try to turn out, try to go and listen to what the candidates have to say. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Did we get the details up, Nick? Okay. The next item on the agenda is changes to the agenda. Councilor Bedison.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we move item A under 12, new business, up to after approval of minutes and before reports.
Mr. Mayor, I second that motion.
There's a motion and a second to move item 12A under new business to after approval of minutes, which is number 7, and before number 8. Any discussion? There's a motion and a second, no discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The agenda is amended. Anything else? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as amended. Next on the agenda is approval of minutes of the regular meeting of the Town Council of January 22nd, 2014.
Mr. Mayor.
Counselor.
I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of January 22nd, 2014.
Mr. Mayor, I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? There's a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Silver City Town Council on January 22nd, 2014. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is item number 12A under new business, approval, disapproval of Town of Silver City audit report for fiscal year end June 30, 2013. Mr. Stone, you have the floor.
Thank you, particularly for amending the agenda. I appreciate it very much. It's tax season. I need my sleep. As to your audit report, I would like to indicate that you had an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, which is high as you can get, an unmodified opinion on compliance with federal compliance laws, and we had one little comment because we missed a budget adjustment that we have to make because the state auditor requires it. Other than that, it's beautiful, clean audit, and I think there's a couple of things I'd like to point out to the council. And first of all, most important, if I was sitting up there trying to manage a town, I'd like to know that the numbers I'm getting from staff are good numbers so that I know that the decisions I make are based on real dollars and real numbers, and we had no corrections to those for about the 10th year in a row, or 11th or 12th, or however long I've been there. It's been a long time, off and on. I think that should give the council and the mayor comfort in knowing that the numbers they're giving you guys to manage the city are good numbers, and I think that's important. At least through June 30th of 2013 they were, let me put it that way, okay? One other thing I'd like to point out is that we talk about all kinds of different things, but I don't think that people realize what a responsibility the council and the management of the town have. You guys are managing over $72 million worth of assets, as well as $20 million worth of revenue a year. In the town of Silver City, you think of the town of Silver City, well, it's a nice-sized city, but it's not that big. But you've got about $72 million worth of assets that you're currently managing, whether it be cash, whether it be infrastructure, and I think it's important that that get out and know that you have a huge responsibility when you're managing those kinds of assets. And other than that, I don't really have anything else to say except to say congratulations. It was another great audit report. Staff was ready for us when we got there. We were in, we were out. I would say with a minimum of fuss. Alex and Anita might say with a substantially different story, because we beat them to death for about 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 days. But they were ready for us, cordial. They had the stuff that we needed, and if we needed anything else, they took the time out of their day to get it for us. That's not always the case. Sometimes we have difficulty getting people to help us the way these people always have. So I would like to commend them, because it does two things. First of all, it gets us out of their hair. Second of all, it lets us know that they're running a good ship. And most importantly, it holds the cost down to the town as well. Other than that, that's all I have to say, except to remind you it's an action item. You have to either approve or disapprove the audit report. I sure hope you approve it, because I don't want to start all over again.
Thank you, Mr. Stone. I appreciate the years of service that you've put into helping the town make sure that we do get our audits in on time and that they're approved by the state auditor, with the exception of that 1 year, which was actually their fault. So, before I go to the council, Mr. Brown, as our town manager and finance director, first of all, congratulations again. The audits with this volume of cash and assets just coming out clean for so many years is quite remarkable, and has almost turned into a real abnorm in the state. So you're to be commended, and I would really appreciate if you would introduce the finance staff that does the work day in and day out and truly makes this happen. Make sure that the books are kept accurate and clean, and that we follow all the requirements that we have.
Well, this year, I'd really like to commend the finance staff. They were put in a tough situation because our deputy finance director left at the very beginning of the fiscal year. So these individuals, Anita Norero, the new deputy finance director, Leanne Misquez, and the purchasing agent, and Amanda Teran, accounting technician, everyone in the department really stepped up this year, all of them being new. I mean, Amanda and Priscilla in the accounting tech, they've only been there about 1.5 years probably. Steven's been there longer than me, actually. So he's the only constant. They've all done an excellent job, and especially under the stress of coming in brand new and the results. So I just want to congratulate them and thank them.
Now it's time to embarrass you. Stand and be recognized. Thank you. Any comments, questions from the council? Councilor Bez.
I just want to reiterate what the mayor said. I have to say that as a counselor, I can't thank you all enough, and certainly Alex, for everything that you do to make it easy for us to manage what we do up here. Without having good, solid numbers and clean audits the way we've had during my tenure, which I'm in my 5th year, I mean, it really is important. I mean, I hear what other communities go through when I go up and talk to colleagues, and I just kind of smile, because our financial house is in order, and it's because of the work by good people and excellent staff. And thank you so much, Mr. Brown, your direction, and certainly with all of the finance staff. We can't do it without you. I mean, it really makes our job a lot easier. So thank you, and thank you, Mr. Stone, for everything you've done for the town in doing this as well, and doing our audits. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Morones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A question to Mr. Stone. I'm actually amazed that we continue to get these unqualified opinions, and especially in light of the transition and the continuity that we had to juggle this year. From what you saw as an independent auditor, you clearly you didn't find it was unqualified, but how was the transition and the continuity from your perspective, moving into new staff and running through a full year?
I'll be honest with you, I couldn't tell the difference. I think that it's the tone at the top, I'll be honest with you. And your city manager continually understands the accounting part of it, clearly understands the accounting part of it, and understands how important it is, and devotes a significant amount of his time to making sure that things stay the same. You know, we had individual grant files that were maintained by different people that had the same completeness and competence that they had in the past. You know, I know it's different people, but it's the same result. I didn't see anything different, and I believe that it's the tone at the top, and I think that flows to you guys as well, because it's very clear that it's important to the council that the audit report be clean, timely, and let them be able to say to the citizens of the town of Silver City, we're managing your money correctly. And I think that it flows all down, of course, to Alex, you know, and when I first time I really knew Alex is he was an accounts payable clerk, so he's come a ways since then. But I think everybody back there did a heck of a job, and I think one of the reasons they did a heck of a job is because when they ran into a problem, Alex was accessible to them and was willing to help them and say, this is the way we do it, this is why we do it this way, and they continued it forward. I didn't see any drop-off at all, Michael.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Benson.
I move to approve the Town of Silver City audit report for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2013.
Mr. Mayor, I second that motion.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? I just want to make a note that the comment that you are making is reference, one of them is for $2. And we just didn't do the paperwork to make sure that the budget reflected the $2 change. And the other one was $7,915 out of the $90-some million that is managed.
Exactly. There are three levels of comments. You can have material weakness, a significant deficiency, or an other. When you get down to the others, they're pretty picky-unish, to be honest with you. But they are ones that are required because you're supposed to stay within your budget by fund. Now, I think perhaps the audience ought to know that you guys manage about 75 funds, okay? Ranging from very small funds to very large funds, like the general fund. It was an unusual circumstance where we had expenditures late in the year, I believe on a grant or something like that. It was a very unusual circumstance, and certainly, to be honest with you, doesn't warrant me wasting any more of your time.
Thank you, sir. Do we need a roll call? Any other discussion? There's a motion and a second, no further discussion, to approve the Town of Silver City audit report for fiscal year ended June 30, 2013. Roll call, please.
Councilor Edison?
Aye.
Councilor Cook?
Aye.
Councilor Ray?
Aye.
Councilor Moronis?
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item on the agenda, thanks, sir. The next item on the agenda is under reports. High Desert Humane Society's Animal Intake Report for 2013 by Heidi Ogas.
Good evening, councilors, staff, Mayor Marshall, thank you. Heidi Ogas, President of the High Desert Humane Society. As you know, we have an agreement with the town of Silver City to take in and shelter animals from the city. So this is the 2013 report of our animal intake. The first spreadsheet that you should have up there should be the intake for the year of 2013. It's broken down by impounded animals, stray animals, and owner turn-ins with the totals. If anybody has any questions on that, please let me know. Also on that sheet, we did take in $2,770 in impound fees for city animals, and license collection was $5,704, and that includes the $450 that was an increase when the ordinance changing the licensing for non-spayed and neutered. If you remember, it went from $10 to $20, so that was an additional $450 taken in after the ordinance change. The other one with the graph on it is a comparison from 2007 up through 2013 on animal intakes. That one's not broken down, it's just dogs and cats in totals. At the bottom, though, there's a graph that indicates since 2007, the intake number of cats has come down quite a bit. The number of dogs has not come down quite so much. So, which raised a little bit of concern for us, is we'd like to see it reduced more. As you know, 2013 was the Humane Society's 40th birthday, and we had a goal of raising $40,000 for spay and neuter assistance for people of our community, and we raised $44,823. So that money is available for spay and neuter. Last year in 2013, we did issue out $26,600 in spay and neuter assistance. And we'd like to issue out all $44,000 this year if we can. Myself and another board member, Jane Spinty, we met with Chief Reynolds to discuss with him that we have this money available and that we really want to push the spay and neuter. And we also discussed with him how we could help the Silver City's ACO Sherwood Nance carry out and enforce the existing ordinance, which says all dogs and cats within the city limits will be spayed or neutered. There's a few exceptions to that, like permission from your veterinarian, but otherwise they need to be spayed or neutered. So we talked to him about providing more information to Sherwood about animals that are impounded through the city. And when they're bailed out, they pay a spay and neuter deposit, and if anybody does not claim that spay and neuter deposit or provide proof of spay and neuter, then Sherwood can follow up on that. He can also follow up on, when he makes complaint calls, he can follow up on whether or not the animal's spayed or neutered. And the card that's over here that talks about how to get a coupon from the Humane Society, we made up a special one just for Sherwood that references the Silver City ordinance on the back and then gives instructions about how to get the spay and neuter assistance. So we're hoping that people will utilize that money so that we can start to see a more drastic decrease in the number of animals impounded. Of course, the intent of helping Sherwood here is not to impose citations and fines. I don't think that's the solution to the problem, although I do think that helps give it a little bit of meat to force them to use a little more of the money. The whole intent is to educate people of what the law is and to make sure that they understand there is financial assistance available. And we are going to have a March special. It's called March Stop the Madness, Beat the Heat. And our coupon price will go up $20 on dogs and $10 in cats for the month of March. So if you have a large female dog, that would give you $85 towards the spay and neuter. So does anybody have any questions on any of that? Yes.
Councilor Cook.
I think I understand what this means, but maybe you can explain it just to make sure. You have dogs OTI, which is owner turned in, and then you have dogs RTO, which is return to owner. And the numbers are significantly different.
Yes, they are.
And can you explain that?
Well, the owner turn-ins would not be returned to an owner, per se. There are people that are bringing their animals in that can no longer keep them, or the situation's not good. So, for instance, using January, the return to owner 12, that would be 12 out of the 9 impounds and 11 strays. There would have been 12 that were returned to their owners. So the owner turn-in is extremely high, and that's one of my concerns when we talk about increasing adoption rates and increasing adoption percentages. I think we need to be very cautious about trying to increase the adoptions. We may have families or individuals taking animals that find they can't keep the animal after all, and that increases the owner turn-ins. So we want to make sure that we find good homes for the animals so that they aren't coming back or not being turned in. But does that explain why, if you look at like January, you had 9 impounds and 11 stray, and out of that, only 12 were returned to the owner, which meant they were either bailed out or claimed.
Do you think that's like an education issue, that people don't know enough about a dog when they're taking it home?
I think that's a huge part of it. I think people want to have pets and then find out they can't. We have an awful lot of people that adopt puppies and then return them because they pee and chew and poop and bite. And so I think there's a huge education disconnect there. And I also think that if you look at the graph, you can kind of tell when the economy has had its ups and downs. Intake was higher during those times when people realized they can't afford the animals. I also think people, you were talking about the ordinances that we have in place. I think a lot of people see animals on television that are very well behaved, and then they adopt one that jumps the fence or won't stay in or chews a hole in the wire, and it's hard for them to comply and provide for the animal like they had planned.
Councilor Edison.
Thank you, Mayor. Heidi, can you tell me, since we don't have it, and I should have looked up last year's report to compare. Can you tell me whether or not the owner turn-ins have increased since last year?
Actually, they have increased slightly, and I didn't bring the specific numbers, but yes, they increased. They went up in 2009 and 2010, and then we saw a slight drop back down in 2011, and then they started climbing back up in 2012 and 2013.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because even when you look at your second graph table, definitely with dogs and cats between 2013 and 2012, there's an increase. Because I thought, wow, we're down the downswing, but then we've increased slightly. So I like the fact that you have $44,000 available for spay and neuter, and I think anything we can do to get the word out. We have that column, I think, in the Daily Press, I think putting it in there, and even if we can maybe do some other sorts of things to help that along, or that you all can do some other sorts of things. Sometimes those little classified ads, just putting a little tiny thing in there, people read those, and the Daily Press and that, just saying, by the way, there's money available for spay and neuter, and we have a special March Madness thing going on. So I think that would be great. That also, once again, would help with, I think, animal complaints and everything else. Education all the way around.
We do have several scheduled meetings at the schools to help promote the spay and neuter as well. So hopefully we can do some more education. There are some huge concerns in our community because there are some people that are extremely opposed to spay and neuter. That's why we'd like to utilize the existing ordinance to steer them in that direction as well. And the money's available. And if for the unfortunate reason your animal is impounded and you have to pay the required spay and neuter deposit, you can also still qualify for the assistance through the HALT program. So if your animal's impounded, between the deposit that you put down that you'll get back when you spay and neuter, it'll almost be paid for.
So can you tell us exactly, right now, without the March Madness, what is the actual coupon or availability? How much does that offset the cost of the spay and neuter right now?
Right now, it pays between half and 2/3 of the cost of the spay and neuter. Right now, for a large female dog, you would get $65. A male cat, I believe, pays $35. So in March, you would get $45 towards the neuter of a male cat.
And then also, on an annual basis, your licensing will go down.
Yes. It'll go
also
down
the
from
cost.
$20 to $2.50.
Yeah, just thought I would make that,
Thank you,
that
yes.
little highlight there, because that does decrease it if you get them spayed and neutered. Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
It looks, Heidi, like there's about a 30% return rate on the return to owner.
That's not a return rate. That might be animals coming in, that somebody had an animal from someplace else or that they've had for a long time. That's not necessarily that they've taken it and returned it to the shelter. When an animal's adopted out and gets returned to the society, it's the property of the society. It doesn't get counted back into this. It's only animals being brought in that owners can no longer keep.
So, what's the adoption rate? What's your euthanasia rate? We'll just cut to the chase.
No, I don't like that one.
We closed out 2013 at about 45% adoption rate. Which is just about 3 times the national average, oddly enough.
Thank you very much.
One other thing I'd like to add real quickly is our emergency response team. We've recruited a couple of new members, and we've had 2 mock disasters, fires in the community to get ready and practice and be prepared for our upcoming fire season to take in animals in the event of an emergency.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. The next item on the agenda under reports is presentation about the upcoming 5th Natural History of the Gila Symposium by Theodore Pressler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councilors, for putting me on the agenda. And thank you, Mr. Mayor and Ms. Cook, for your great service to our city. And have a great retirement. And we look forward to working with Mike and the new and current members of the council. Yes, my name is Ted Pressler. My main volunteer job in Silver since I came here is a program coordinator for the Western Institute for Lifelong Learning, aka WIL. And just to let you know that our membership has soared now to 360-some members, and we're offering over 150 courses a year now at Western. For a price of $75 a year, it's a bargain, to say the least. The other role I've had, which I've spoken to you about, is I'm a member of the steering committee for the Southwest Festival of Written Word Book Festival. And I want to let you know that we will return in October 2015 because we had a very successful first book festival last September. So we want to thank the community for that support. I'm here to talk about the 5th Natural History of the Gila Symposium, which we wanted to bring to the council the fact that we have this. It's our 5th year. It's my 2nd year as member of the steering committee, and it occurred to me that we've never told you about this symposium, and we think it's important to let you know what it's all about. We're going to have some 60 to 70 researchers presenting papers on our beautiful Gila region. And all deference to Heidi, I'm going to have a dog and pony show lined up, but there's no dog and ponies on it. I'm not here to ask for money, but we will be back next year to do so. We have to thank the U.S. Forest Service for giving us a large donation to make this possible. So without further ado, I'm going to show a PowerPoint presentation. The folks in the back may have to move to see it. And unfortunately, we got clipped off. So it's a little bit shy. Anyway, here's our flyer that we're passing out, putting it around town, and should be in the, I think, the Desert Exposure, and hopefully the Daily Press will have a comment, as well as the Grant County Beat. This is our symbol for the symposium. This art design was done by a student at the Expressive Arts of WNMU. Our mission, the Natural History Symposium, is to provide a venue for researchers, land managers, conservationists, and educators to meet and share information and ideas gathered from the Gila region, including watersheds and neighboring areas extended into southwestern New Mexico, southeast Arizona, and Mexico itself. And we feel that although this is the fifth symposium, we want to expand the attendance and the speakers from all over the region, not just the 60 and 70 that we have this year. Now, the members of the steering committee are Dr. William Norris, who's our chair, professor at WNMU. Karen Beckenbach is our program coordinator. Dr. Kathy Whiteman, who is a professor at WNMU in charge of outdoor education. Dr. Richard Felger from the University of Arizona. Adriana Booth, who's with GCEC. Dr. Joni Cockman is from the Bureau of Land Management. Art Tellez from the U.S. Forest Service. And myself. Here's our beloved state. What you may or may not have realized is our Gila not only extends through New Mexico, but our good folks, the Hohokam, who lived in Arizona in the 1200 era, which Cynthia could probably comment on, they built canals off the Gila River, and some of them are currently being used, like in the city of Phoenix. So there's a lot farther importance for our Gila. Here's our forest. Here's the Gila River as it flows through New Mexico towards Arizona. And I'm preaching to the choir now, but here's the beauty of our wonderful region. Our water supply, our river. The Gila Box, which is a conservation area. The upper box, the middle fork, the lower box. And it's one of the few undammed rivers in the Southwest. And of course we have some wonderful fish, and we have a rainbow trout plus one human, the spike ace, and I don't want to tell you about the state bird, the spotted towhee, mountain chickadee, the meadowlark, the hummer broadtail, the Annis hummingbird, our land, and birds. The ornithology goes on, and as many of you already know. Flowers, stone crop flower, the blanket flower, ornamental chili peppers, and the list goes on. So the topics of the symposium are one, which is certainly a current topic, the Arizona Water Settlement Act, wildlife conservation, ornithology, or birds, botany, wetlands and waterways restoration and monitoring, Gila trout conservation, anthropology, archaeology, and paleontology, wildlife recovering programs and monitoring studies, education, and we also, as an aside from researchers, we have a section called Creative Voices, which Professor Sharman Russell has organized, and we will have Michael Berman, Sarah Johnson, Phil Connors, and Richard Felger talking about their writings, their authorship of articles and books on the Gila. Our keynote speaker is Dr. Julio Betancourt, whose topic is Reflections on the Relevance of Environmental History in a Changing World. Now, Dr. Betancourt is a senior scientist with the U.S. Geological Survey and adjunct professor at the U of A in Tucson, where he got his master's and Ph.D. His training in sciences is broad and includes geology, hydrology, climatology, and ecology. He's published over 130 technical papers in a wide variety of scientific journals. Over the past 4 years, he led the effort to educate and galvanize mitigation and adaptation to the spread of African buffalo grass that threatens to transform Fireproof's desert to flammable grassland. Highly recommend that you consider attending this talk. We're also going to have, Dr. Kathy Whiteman, who's going to be the initial welcome speaker. You know this gentleman, of course, without further ado. And Kelly Russell from the U.S. Forest Service will be talking as well. And there is Dr. Julio Betancourt. Here's our schedule, which is going to be very difficult to read, but it'll give you a broad idea of the wide variety of topics that we have. The Lifetime Achievement Awards will go to Charlie Painter, David Probst, and Kelly Alfred. Here's another part of the schedule. The symposium is free, and it's open to the entire public. We do have a social activity, which is Friday night the 28th, that runs from 6 to 8 at the WNMU Sunset Room, or the dining room at WNMU. The cost is $5 per person. I said we aren't looking for donations from the council to the town, but next year we more than likely will. Thank you very much.
For Mr. Pressler.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir. The next item on the agenda is staff reports. Mr. Brown.
No report.
Ms. Mackey.
Since it's election time, I just thought I'd announce that we're still having absentee voting at City Hall, and early voting begins tomorrow on the voting machine. Both are through February 28th, and of course, Election Day is March 4th. And also, I'd like to announce that we have many openings on our boards and committees. Our Extraterritorial Subdivision Commission has openings for 2 regular members and 2 alternates. The Planning and Zoning Commission has an opening for 1 position. The Incentive Review Committee has an opening of 1 position, and the Museum Board has 3 positions open. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief. Councilor Bedison.
Mr. Mayor, I move for a short break.
Mr. Mayor, I second that motion.
There's a motion and a second for a short break. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll be in recess. We'll call this meeting back to order, and the next item on the agenda is approval of consent agenda. It's just a matter of procedure. All matters listed under item 11, approval of consent agenda, are considered to be routine by the town council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Item A is approval disapproval of resolution number 2014-03, adopting a fair housing policy. Item number B, approval disapproval of resolution number 2014-04, Citizen Participation Plan CDBG program. Item C, approval disapproval of resolution number 2014-05, Residential Anti-Displacement and Relocation Plan and Certification. Item number D is approval disapproval of resolution number 2014-06, Section 3 Plan. Item E is approval disapproval of resolution number 2014-07, CDBG procurement policy. Does anybody wish to discuss any of these items?
No, sir.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Benson.
I hope I do this correct. Do I have to read all of them out? Okay, I don't. I move to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I second that motion.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
No, sir.
There's a motion and a second to approve the items on the consent agenda as printed on the agenda and read out loud. Roll call.
Councilor Medicine?
Aye.
Councilor Cook? Aye. Councilor Ray?
Aye.
Councilor Moronis?
Aye.
Motion carries. All items on the consent agenda are approved. The next item on the agenda is approval disapproval of bid number 13/14-5 homeowners rehabilitation project. Mr. Brown.
Mayor, Council, the town received 3 bids for the homeowners rehab project, bid 13/14-5. The bids were received from Topmark Enterprise in the amount of $27,358.73, which includes gross receipts taxes. Silverwood Ranch Construction in the amount of $32,078.28, and Nick A. Chavez Construction LLC in the amount of $41,697. All of the contractors were from Grant County, so we did not have to look at the local preference. So it's staff's recommendation to award the bid to Topmark Enterprise for the amount of $27,358.73.
Any discussion?
One additional item, it is the home rehab funding, so it's all grant funding. So none of it comes out of any of local funds.
And this is a rehab, not a replace?
Yes, it's a rehab.
And the contractor is qualified and was responsive?
Yes, everyone was responsive, and all three of the contractors were responsive, and they were all considered.
Entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Morris.
I move to approve bid number 13/14-5 homeowners rehabilitation project as per staff recommendation to Topmark Enterprises in the amount of $27,358.73, which does include GRT.
Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
No, sir.
There's a motion and a second to approve bid 13/14-5 homeowners rehabilitation project per staff recommendation to Topmark Enterprises for a total of $27,358.73, which includes the GRT. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval, next item on the agenda is discussion and vote on whether to cancel or change the regular council meeting scheduled for February 25th, 2014. And I requested this because I'm actually going to be out of town on the 25th. And would be my last council meeting, which I think would be in really bad taste to not attend. So, our very efficient clerk has checked with all of us to find dates that worked for all of us, and it appears that the 20th at 6 p.m. would work for all of us, and this room is available at that time and date. Any discussion? Entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor.
I move to change the regularly scheduled town council meeting of February 25th, 2014 to February 20th, 2014 at 6 p.m. in these chambers.
Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I second that motion.
There is a motion and a second to change the date and time of the meeting. Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor.
I believe that we will have a reception during the meeting to offer our thanks and well wishes to you and to Councilor Cook for your years of service. So I hope the public will join us for that. And just wanted to mention that. So it would be sad if you missed it. So we expect you to be there.
And Councilor Ray is going to pin me into my new club.
I think that could also occur. So.
Any other discussion? There's a motion, a second, no further discussion to change the date and time of the regular council meeting that was scheduled for February 25th, 2014 to February 20th at 6 p.m. in this chamber. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adjourn.
I'll second it.
There's a motion, a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.